Okay, so I asked on the Twitter what everybody wanted to see, which, by the way, I have a Twitter. If you didn't know, you can go follow it or not. I don't care. I talk about the videos sometimes, but I also don't, so it's weird. Anyways, I asked what people wanted to see, and they tied. So I am going to go with the calmer of the two options and talk about the healing options in Genshin Impact and essentially kind of ranking them. So I will be including pretty much everything that can heal a character that is not itself. Self-heals don't count, so Hitao, Fischl, and Kaeya do not make the list. I am sorry. Also, I am only going to count the healing skills abilities to heal. I'm not going to look at the other potential things that they have, so Bennett's Elemental Burst will not be ranked for its attack buff, so please keep that in mind as well. All of the healers obviously have their own benefits, all of them obviously have their own cons, and I'm just looking at the healing capabilities. So with that out of the way, let's get started. In last place, the least effective healing options are the White Iron Greatsword and the Recurve Bow. With both weapons having Call the Weak as their passive, they both work to heal the player after they defeat an enemy. Obviously, it doesn't heal a lot, and it may not help all that much in a fight if you're going against, like, one giant enemy, since the passive will not activate, but it does heal, so it does count. After that, we get the Traveler's Handy Sword and the Otherworldly Story. They also heal their user, but this time it's after they generate an elemental particle. Obviously, the use of these weapons are going to vary from character to character. For example, with just looking at the Traveler, if you're infused with Animo, you're going to be making a lot of elemental particles, and it will heal you a bunch, and it's awesome, but if you're running around with Geo, it may not be as helpful. The same is also true of the next thing on the list, the Black Sword. This is the sword found in the Battle Pass. It restores HP based off when you do a crit, because obviously you can control the character's crit rate and you can't control the amount of elemental particles they produce. You obviously have more control over who this will or will not heal, so it gets to be above them on the list. Now that the healing weapons are out of the way, we move on to a character, Noelle. After activating Breastplate, Noelle's attack has a 50 to 60% chance to heal all party members based on her defense. So, while she heals everyone, and you can probably get that healing up a decent amount, she gets pretty low on the list because it requires such specific circumstances, and also you can't really, switch out of her, so it has to be her, and it has to be her attacking, and it has to have the breastplate, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. After that, we have a pretty odd one, the Statue of the Seven. Though it's not exactly an item, character, or weapon, it heals, so it's here. It also places above Noelle because, well, you can't use it in battle, it's consistent. It also gives you the most control when healing, since you can go into that little menu thing and decide, the percentage it heals, and which individual characters, and it can res. Rezzing is awesome. It just gets a lot of deducted points because you can't use it in battle. Plus, all the statues share a limited pool, so you might find yourself having a particularly bad day, and then you go to a Venti statue, and you find out he's all out of Venti juice. After that, we have Jinkyu, Mr. Water Sword Boy himself. While the main appeal to his water swords are the fact that they mitigate damage, they also heal the character that is currently in use when they are broken or fade away for 6% of Jinkyu's max HP, with there being 3 to 4 swords, depending on if you see one or not. That's not a bad healing, assuming that Jinkyu is built right. Of course, it doesn't help in co-op and requires great timing, so he's a good healer, but it's a little bit tricky, so he can't really get to the top of the list. Next up is another okay healer who's actually more support, but that's not what this list is about, is Bennett. He's got a pretty standard AoE healing, which, like every AoE healing, has its pros and cons. Namely that any of the people can use it, but if they have to run, well, let's just hope they got healed enough. Of course, the other downside to Bennett's healing is that it will only tick if the character is under 70% HP. And while you can get lucky and be at 69%, other times you realize just how much that missing 30% is. Obviously, this is balanced out by the attack buff, but again, we're not counting that, so moving on, Bennett is only rated as a mid-tier healer. After that, we have Diona. This is a pretty obvious one where her elemental burst is a lot like Bennett's, where it does the AoE healing, but hers, instead of the buff, does damage, and it can heal everyone up to 100%, so she kind of easily beats him out. Next, we have the food bag. Obviously, the effectiveness is based on what food you've got, and I'm not going to be ranking the food because the game does it for you, but say if you're running around with mint jelly, you're condemning your party to a terrible dish and hardly any healing. But you can also stick in something like the bamboo shoot soup and keep them nice and healthy. Plus, it's one of the few ways to res in battle. And sure, I guess you can open the menu and do the same thing, but it interrupts the flow of battle. And if you're in co-op, then time doesn't freeze in menus, so you're gonna die. So, food bag's your best bet and one of the best gadgets. Moving on, we finally reached the god tier healers, the ones that are designed to be actual healers only. And the first of the mightiest healers is Seiyu. Well, her elemental burst is a lot like Bennett's, only healing those under 70% HP when enemies are around. It will also heal characters when no enemies are around to 100. It sort of sucks that it heals one character at a time, but still, it's pretty good. But the real reason she is so high is her passive, Someone More Capable. This means that when Seiyu triggers a swirl reaction, she can heal everyone for 300 plus whatever, 1.2 per every elemental mastery point she has. It's a really complicated little formula. I don't know why it's 1.2, but it is, so there you go. She's not the greatest healer, but she definitely has quite a few skills that make her amazing. And then we have the third best healer, Jean. This is probably not all that surprising for anyone who's looked at her kit. Not only does her elemental burst heal the entire party and leave an AoE field to allow characters to keep healing at all times, but she also has a healing passive. When doing a normal hit, Jean has a 50% chance of healing everybody in the party, which makes her a pretty good battle healer, but it's also the 50% chance that makes her only third. Since it's a chance every time she hits, you can't always rely on it going off when you need to, which is kind of important with healing, and, well, I've already seen my luck when it comes to 50-50s in this game. I don't need another reminder that Kazuha hates me. Why, Kazuha? Why? Now, second place. This one was actually pretty hard since the first and second place are both incredibly similar in builds. However, there's only a tiny little factor that has me rate Chi-Chi second and Barbara first. That's not just biased. Okay, it's a little bit biased. Both Chi-Chi and Barbara have elemental skills and bursts that provide healing to the whole party, and both have it so that if they have a C6, they can revive a party member, and can attack enemies to heal their parties. But a lot of Chi-Chi stuff relies on her seals, and well, that doesn't affect the elemental skill too much. As long as it's active, Chi-Chi can heal the party by attacking the enemies. Her elemental burst, and sometimes the seal she generates on attack, however, require the characters to hit the enemies to get healed. This means that it's quite possible that if, say, Razor's not looking too hot, when he goes to get healed by attacking, he could end up being hit instead, and, well, then he'll need a different kind of healing. Barbara, on the other hand, has got an automatic healing and can hit the enemies for the dying character. Plus, if you get her healing effectiveness or health up high enough, then her elemental bursts just take care of any boo-boos that the enemies throw at you. She may not be a 5-star, but she is the ultimate healer, for now at least. Who knows what Kokomi or any other characters coming up will be capable of. But until then, all hail the idol of Mondstadt.